Diddy collapses in court after 50 Cent exposes 18 years of hidden recordings. 50 Cent ignites FBI report Diddy's collapse, hidden evidence, and the fall of Hollywood icons. Hours ago, the Federal Bureau of Investigation publicly confirmed the launch of Operation Silenced Icons, a multi-jurisdictional probe targeting systemic abuse, coercion, and manipulation within the upper echelons of the American entertainment industry. The operation's origin traces back to domestic assault allegations filed by Cassandra Cassie Ventura against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs in 2023. Yet the investigation has since metastasized into a sweeping indictment of an entire shadow apparatus. Representing the FBI former National Security Advisor turned senior federal investigator Kash Patel emerged as the Bureau's principal spokesperson. At a tense Washington press briefing, Patel declared, "This is no longer about one celebrity. It is a pattern repeated, orchestrated, and protected by wealth and influence. The Bureau has reason to believe that a network of enablers, financiers, and public figures have collaborated to suppress victims and subvert justice." This statement, while diplomatic, sent shockwaves through both Capitol Hill and Hollywood. Operation Silenced Icons, led by an interagency task force from the FBI, DOJ, and Homeland Security, now includes over 40 named individuals under review, ranging from recording artists to film executives, publicists, and former law enforcement contacts. The catalyst behind this seismic pivot, a 20-year archive of covertly recorded evidence submitted voluntarily by Curtis Jackson, better known as 50 Cent. Key highlights from FBI's preliminary report, Evidence Origin. 50 Cent began covertly recording conversations and events, starting in 2003 initially to protect himself following a series of veiled threats. Methodology: recordings span analog cassette encrypted flash drives and cloud backups stored in multiple international jurisdictions. Verification: audio forensics conducted by 3 independent labs confirm the recording's authenticity, timestamps, and lack of digital manipulation. Content: tapes include verbal threats, admissions of coercion, and planning of events, now identified as potential criminal conspiracies involving high-profile names. In a confidential portion of the report, leaked to select media outlets, one transcript from a 2003 post-MTV Awards gathering featured Combs stating, "No one leaves until I say so. No one refuses me. Do you understand?" The witness heard replying with, "Please, I just want to go home," has since been identified and placed under federal witness protection. Kash Patel emphasized the importance of 50 Cent's evidence trove. What we received was not a conspiracy theory. It was a roadmap. One filled with timestamps, digital trails, and deeply disturbing realities. The investigation further expanded when these materials were cross-referenced with federal surveillance data, sealed subpoenas, and testimony from other insiders, most notably Brother Bilal, a former personal aide to Will Smith, and key witness against the broader network. Due to the severity and scale of the revelations, the FBI requested and was granted a federal media blackout on specific details of the case. This included sealing courtroom exhibits, redacting audio identifiers, and establishing off-site evidence review protocols. Yet even with such precautions, leaks began to circulate via encrypted Reddit forums, TikTok creators, and international media. Public outrage intensified especially after anonymous leaks described coercive parties at secluded estates involving multiple celebrities. As one whistleblower summarized, "It wasn't just about what happened. It was how everyone around them stayed quiet." In coordination with the Department of Justice, the FBI has announced the initiation of targeted subpoenas to agencies and firms associated with individuals named in the archive. Furthermore, Patel has authorized the deployment of the FBI's Digital Integrity Task Force to authenticate the provenance of all additional media now surfacing in public forums. Operation Silenced Icons is no longer a closed investigation. It is now a cultural reckoning. Between 2003 and 2020, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson recorded over 400 hours of audio at events connected to Sean Diddy Combs, primarily private parties, studio sessions, and hospitality suites. Fearing for his safety after narrowly surviving the 2000 shooting, Jackson covertly equipped himself with recording tools, an analog micro-cassette tape recorder, clipped to his jacket, and later a custom USB device disguised as a lapel pin, then secure wearable tech synced to encrypted cloud storage. Each session was meticulously logged metadata on every recording included date, time, location, and names of individuals present. Jackson's team labeled each file cryptically, such as U71206 Hamptons, Black Suite, or 050412 Vols Studio Secret Cirque, allowing a coherent evidence trail spanning almost 2 decades. The earliest recording entered the FBI files from August 2003, captured after an MTV Awards after-party in Los Angeles. In a dimly lit suite, Sean Combs commanded a model, "No one leaves until I say so. You'll stay until I'm done. Please, I just want to go home." 50 Cent secretly in the next room heard the exchange in real time and froze. The victim's voice, tremulous, resigned, became the first undeniable crack in Diddy's veneer of control. A second tape in 2007 revealed similar coercive power plays. Combs, flanked by associates, was heard, "I made you. I can destroy you if you cross me." Over the years, Jackson's tapes intensified. One from October 2012 recorded Diddy instructing that phones be collected and guests required to sign confidentiality agreements, because nobody leaves with dirt that can ruin us. Crucially, the archive contains at least 12 distinct voice samples of Sean Combs verified using vocal analysis. This forensic link enables courtroom authentication without resorting to circumstantial abduction only. Others were identified on tape, including Cassie Ventura, faintly heard discussing unwilling attendants. Unnamed models and performers, speaking of fear and restrictions. Allusions to Will Smith and Meek Mill. References to their presence at legacy rituals and ritual rotations. Timestamps show key entries: May 15, 2015, Beverly Hills Suite. 6:06, December 3, 2016, Aspen Retreat Squadron. Bunker Unit, August 11, 2020, Star Island Estate, Kittens and Cameras Party Victims whispered, "No, cannot do this, and I didn't sign on for this." The latter phrase became a recurring refrain across several hundred digital clips. Jackson's evidence manifests across 3 formats: analog microcassette recorder 2003-2007, USB flash drives 2008-2015, disguised inside custom-designed jewelry pins, encrypted hard drives, and cloud storage, 2016-2020, segmented with metadata and mirrored backups in Canada and the Netherlands logs, and digital checksums are accompanied by sworn affidavits asserting non-tampering. Upon receipt, the FBI engaged its Digital Integrity Task Force to validate the chain of custody, confirming no unauthorized alterations. Metadata traces reveal that multiple files were duplicated securely as legal backups and logged into encrypted FBI clouds. 3 mutually independent forensic labs, Acoustic Voice Inc., Secure Audio Labs, and the DOJ's Forensic Audio Division, conducted a blind review of 20 random recordings. Duress vocal stylings, temporal voice matching to public speeches, and dissonance with ambient noise confirmed their authenticity. Each lab certified no signs of voice alteration or digital insertion. Ambient patterning matched locations and dates. Diarized logs aligned with venue bookings and known events. A consolidated forensic report signed by chief analyst states, "These audio files are genuine, untampered, and time-stamped by credible independent servers. Their content indicates ongoing systemic abuse of power." For years, 50 Cent kept the recordings private. He feared retaliation that could jeopardize his career and personal safety. Internal notes included in FBI exhibits reveal his internal struggle balancing loyalty, fear, and conscience. Then came January 2023. The resurfaced video of Cassie being assaulted by Diddy went viral. That visual confirmation became the breaking point. One annotated note in his file states, "I can't stay silent anymore. This changes everything." Only then did Jackson hand over his archive to federal authorities. On May 2, 2025, the FBI officially classified 50 Cent's documentation as evidence material under Operation Silenced Icons. According to Kash Patel, recorded audio was legally compelling. You have voice recognition, chain of custody, metadata, independent forensic validation, and most importantly, the testimony of those harmed. This is no flimsy dossier. It is this weaponized archive, a collage of voices, threats, recordings, names, dates that transformed a celebrity scandal into a federal criminal investigation. The courtroom doors opened just before 9 a.m. Under orders from Judge Morrison, courtroom 6B was classified as secure facility, no press, no cameras, no sketch artists, and strict biometric triage to identify every person entering. A perimeter of federal agents in sharp suits stood guard. Former U.S. Representative Kash Patel, now acting as FBI Supervisory Counsel, oversaw witness protection protocols. Access was granted by invitation only select defense counsels, the prosecution team, judges, clerks, grand jury observers, and sealed observers, all under lifelong non-disclosure agreements. The record of entry was being logged via encrypted fingerprint scanners. Electronic transmissions were restricted. This wasn't a celebrity court, it was an intelligence-level proceeding. At 9:15 a.m., the courtroom went silent. The prosecution presented its first witness, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. Standing tall behind a marine green stand, Patel nodded at him as he swore the oath. Jackson's opening statements were precise, even clinical. What we're describing here is not nightlife. It's a power structure, a control matrix. One created, facilitated, and enforced by Sean Combs. He paused. His gaze swept the half-empty gallery enclosed behind tinted glass. Over 17 years, I collected hundreds of hours of audio. From 2003 to 2020, I recorded Sean Combs instructing models not to leave, threatening artists, hiding evidence, and silencing dissent. This is not a rumor, it's a pattern. 50 Cent labeled it a coercive abuse of power ring, outlining a phantom outline of intimidation, exploitation, and surveillance. At 9:45 a.m., the courtroom was dimmed. A single screen descended behind the jury. FBI agent Angela Ruiz inserted a USB drive containing a short segment from October 2012. On the screen, Combs' distorted face appeared in a dim suite, heaving shadows behind him. For just 30 seconds, the clip showed Diddy collecting phones and pressing a model. "You signed it. You can't leave." The room froze. Defense attorneys' pens still. The jury leaned forward, faces strained. Not one person blinked. Diddy sat motionless, the heat of the moment pressing against his composure. A guard cuffed his hand unconsciously. He swallowed, eyes glazed. Within moments, Combs began sweating. A twitch in his left leg became noticeable. Beads of perspiration formed on his forehead, even as the screen went dark. He stared at the bench. His cheeks turned ashen. By 10:05 a.m., Judge Morrison observed the tension. She paused the proceedings, announcing a 10-minute recess to allow for medical consultation. Diddy's camp protested. Cameras and recording devices were forbidden anyway, but their body language said more: fear, disbelief, denial. In the hallway, whispers raced. First collapse. He's lost it. The stenographer's machine paused, and the sounds of encrypted evidence transmission clicked away in the background. Moments after court adjourned, Patel stepped before microphones in a sealed FBI press brief room. Audio feeds monitored, but cameras barred. "Let me be clear, this is not an artist being tried. This is a corporate class, predatory system, a financial crime apparatus, using coercion, surveillance, and intimidation. We're not here to critique artistry." We're here to dismantle a criminal network. Patel confirmed the recordings were authenticated by 3 independent forensic labs. We expect more disclosures in the coming days. His voice was hard, flat, and brimming with assertion. Today we saw a glimpse. Additional exhibits and witnesses are lined up. He exited under tightly sealed protocols, refusing to take questions on camera, only nodding at a guard before stepping behind bulletproof glass. Back in courtroom 6B, as the second audio file loaded a 2016 recording, referring to Cassie with threatening undertones, Sean Combs' head dropped onto the desk. His defenders looked stunned. He rose rattled and demanded a break. The judge granted it, but not before stating, "Mr. Combs, I remind you your condition does not excuse proceeding, but the court also opposes any delay not medically warranted." He slumped. His breathing was shallow. Defense counsel, glancing sideways, began emergency filings to request a medical recess. But the momentum had shifted. The prosecution was tightening its grip. The prosecution emphasized audio over visuals, more persuasive in federal court. A redacted audio feed played of Diddy's voice whispering about how to handle Cassie if she tried to speak. The word handle carried such veiled menace the jury audibly stiffened. One juror's hand shook as they scribbled urgent notes. Another exhaled abruptly. No one spoke. Not a cough, not a shuffle, just profound stillness. By 11:30 a.m., the judge announced a court recess until tomorrow morning. The jury was escorted under escort. The podium and evidence were sealed. Outside, brief replays of the audio were being scrubbed online, yet compiled privately by citizen sleuths pushing transcripts. Rarely seen court artists were escorted out. The press reported only on the tension and the unprecedented physical breakdown of one of the world's most powerful entertainment titans. Statements from Diddy's team were terse. He is seeing a specialist and will return swiftly. But the damage was done. Photography of his pale, trembling hands became the visuals everyone saw. By the end of the day, 50 Cent emerged not only as a key witness, but as a vault of evidence, the keeper of a decade-long audio trail. Diddy's collapse was less physical breakdown than the shattering of his aura of invulnerability. Cash Patel's public label reframed the case not about celebrity, but about financial abuse and coercion. Legal foundation was now set. Authenticated voice prints, forensic evidence, multi-year documentation, witness credibility. The courtroom went quiet with portent. The Capitol looked on in tension. The veil was lifted, but what lay behind it now demanded reckoning. Once the courtroom reconvened, Judge Morrison allowed limited juror questions, a rare gesture designed to pierce the silence that had gripped the room. Juror 4, voice steady. "Mr. Jackson, you recorded dozens of events over many years. Could you detail one instance where coercion was clearly non-consensual?" 50 Cent exhaled sharply, recalling a private dinner. "Yes. April 2009, at a Queens event. A young model tried to leave. Security blocked her exit. Combs said, 'You signed now, you stay.' She froze, tearful, powerless. The juror glanced at fellow jurors, expression pale. Juror 8, voice tight with concern. "Was any recording obtained under duress, or did you misrepresent your identity to make the tape?" 50 Cent answered calmly. "No deception involved. Standard jackets, standard venues. Nothing was forced." The question landed quietly, carrying more weight than any objection. Next, the prosecution called on 2 forensic analysts. Dr. Linda Cho Gavd, Acoustic Lab. "We performed voice print matching, 95% probability Combs' voice is on these files. The samples include original .wave files with metadata intact. Charts and graphs were entered into evidence, displayed on the screen, then secured again." Agent Raj Singh, FBI Cybercrime Division, stood and explained chain of custody. From 50 Cent's USB drive to secure FBI server files were hashed in real time. We verified each recording's origin via SHA 256. No alterations detected. Metadata timestamps align with concert schedules and guest logs. The jury shifted. This wasn't conjecture, it was science. But the defense would not yield easily. Defense attorney Marcus Bell rose, voice ringing with defiance. Your Honor, these recordings violate New York's one-party consent law. Actually, New York is indeed a one-party state. However many were captured in private suites. Mr. Jackson was not party to those conversations. They were private, personal, privileged. The court must suppress this evidence. The attorneys passed binders stuffed with case law. In rebuttal, prosecutor Elena Cruz stood. These weren't cozy conversations, they are documentary evidence in criminal acts, extortion, coercion, human trafficking. Those crimes override normal privacy protections. We are pursuing a criminal enterprise, not gossip. Judge Morrison, with a tight nod, pressed Counselor Bell. Are you asserting systemic falsification or contextual tampering? Defense both. The chain of custody is compromised when the origin is covert, unverified. We maintain these recordings are personal vendetta misrepresented as evidence. The tension in the room spiked. The courtroom air tightened like pulled wire. The prosecution pressed a lab technician, Cruz. Did you detect any editing or splicing? Technical expert. No signs of tampering, acoustic echoes consistent across tracks. No digital artifacts typical of deepfake or edit software. Bell countered, could your lab detect analog to digital splices? The expert replied, yes, we scanned for discontinuities in the spectral profile. None found. Each file is continuous. Bell questioned timing. Your timestamp generator depends on the device is internal clocks. Could those be incorrect, expert? That's why we compare server logs. We matched meter readings against ticket stubs, venue audits. It aligns. Bell sought to create doubt. The tension crackled. The jury trained their eyes on the chart lines, hearing the jargon. They would remember the tone more than content. Judge Morrison then called Cash Patel back to the stand, another rare move. Patel, somber but resolute, presented financial exhibits. A $3.2 million wire transfer, timestamped June 2019, linking Combs' corporate account to an offshore Harpo alias. A leaked NDA dated 2017, signed by at least 3 models and assistants, forbidding disclosure of any activities, facilities, or private parties. Patel declared, these aren't rumors, they are legal agreements used to mask wrongdoing and protect reputations. They reflect pattern, not chance. Defense lawyers sputtered. One stood, Your Honor. This NDA was generic employee level, not a criminal. Patel countered, it was crafted for specific entourage events, including named individuals. It's focused, intentional, and tied to genital non-disclosure. It's clinical evidence of a silencing apparatus. Judge Morrison looked over the jury. Then, gentlemen, ladies, take 10 minutes. Defense whispered in low tones. Jurors regained composure. Patel stepped aside, stoic. Cameras are silent. Sketch artists erased lines for fear of misinterpretation. Everyone felt the weight. This was no longer a rumor. It was structural. By 3 p.m., the courtroom's temperature had risen. Press statements filtered through secure cables. Defense lawyers consulted. The jury's brows were drawn. As the courtroom dramas intensified, Hollywood's titans responded for the most part with resounding silence. Major studios and streaming platforms swiftly suspended upcoming projects involving Diddy, Will Smith, and Meek Mill. Contracts were quietly shelved, and public statements used euphemisms like under review. A-list artists Beyoncé, Brad Pitt, Tyler Perry, Ellen DeGeneres maintained radio silence across social media. Their absence at public events became deafening. Brand endorsements unraveled, fragrance lines dropped. Financial backers stepped back. Meek Mill's liquor portfolio evaporated overnight. Labeled defensive distancing by pundits, these moves spoke louder than words. One insider in a talent agency noted, projects vanish overnight. Even promos go dark. No one wants to be next. Outside the court walls, a grassroots wildfire erupted. Meaning justice unmasked. Demands full release of court materials, let the apes speak. Pushes for unedited video-audio disclosure. Expose the machine. A rallying cry against system-wide celebrity protection. Within hours of 50 Cent's revelations, these tags surged on Reddit, TikTok, Twitter X, and Instagram Reels. Thousands of short, viral clips chronicled timelines of parties' court excerpts and crowd reactions. Subreddits like r/jar Expose Hollywood ballooned from 5,000 members to over $200,000, with pinned threads requesting transparency from studios and the Department of Justice. A moderator posted, "This isn't gossip, it's accountability. Demand the tapes, demand the truth. Under secure protection, new witnesses. Contact federal investigators emboldened by the radar, now on systemic silence and star-studded conspiracy." One former assistant from an Aspen retreat offered social media logs revealing patterns of blackout curtains and phone confiscations. A Harpo Studio event planner provided an audio file of a hush meeting in which attendees were warned, "You'll be forgotten if you talk." Their identities and contributions are classified, but have been scrubbed under judicial motion, appearing only as federal witness ABC. Kash Patel commented in a closed-door briefing, "These witnesses validated patterns, not rumors. They confirm that coercive parties were orchestrated, disciplined, and repeated." Mainstream outlets reproduced sanitized court summaries, but independent media and citizen reporters filled the gaps. The Intercept ProPublica and The Outline published deep dives with date-matched transcripts, legal analysis, and resource links. TikTok sleuths recorded public records, flight manifests, and ticketing anomalies, overlaying them with voiceovers that synthesized courtroom testimony. Reddit compilers archived documents and established open-source timelines that jurors could review promptly. A viral TikTok video titled "Unsealed Menus Who Dined with Shadows" garnered 8 million views and inspired a drive for legislative transparency. Capitol Hill couldn't ignore the uproar. Legislators acting on constituent demand triggered hearings. Representative Alexandria Mitchell DMA and Senator Thomas Green RKS introduced the Hollywood Transparency Act, aimed at requiring public release of non-sensitive court footage in high-profile cases, mandating quarterly DOJ reports on celebrity-related case management. A bipartisan panel summoned the FBI director and studio executives for closed-door briefings demanding rationale behind the gag orders and sealed evidence sessions. Representative Mitchell stated on record, "If justice is a public good, it should not hide in sealed chambers if no national security risk is present." Under mounting pressure, Hollywood pivoted defensively. Talent agencies distributed internal memos to avoid associating with sealed celebrity trials. Streaming platforms commissioned watchdog panels to assess content ethics, signaling that due diligence had become mandatory. A hush-hush group of studios drafted model contract clauses to address bodily autonomy and non-consensual conduct, highlighting new post-trial risk management. Meanwhile, public advocacy groups like Survivors United and End Coercion Now hosted virtual town halls, spotlighting process reforms and collective survivor voices. Public relations teams fought hard to reframe the story. Diddy's camp branded it a selected spotlight campaign against private gatherings, claiming they were distorting consensual nightlife. Resistance posters appeared near Harpo HQ, "Don't film, justice deliver it." Meek Mill's publicist released a video moment, but avoided court discourse, shifting attention toward personal growth and artistic resurfacing. The strategy mirrored PR crisis containers seen in corporate recall events, silence distancing, and narrative redirection. Offline, the digital pulse reached civic action. Demonstrations spanned court-adjacent parks in Los Angeles, New York, and London, with diverse crowds chanting, "Unseal the vault. We want justice." No More Elites Protected Change.org petition collected 1.2 million signatures within days, demanding public playback of court media. Opinion pieces appeared in the NY Times, The Washington Post, and The Guardian, advocating reforms, victim precedent, and cultural accountability. As Part 5 draws to a close, the cultural earthquake persists. Pressure mounted on FBI and DOJ dossiers, many ask when, not if, taped evidence becomes public. Hollywood had begun opening internal investigations for the first time, acknowledging that star power doesn't equal immunity. The Justice Unmasked movement mobilized real-world stakeholders, victims, lawyers, civic leaders, and digital investigators. Kash Patel summed it up to a trusted reporter. "We unveiled a system built to protect the powerful. Now it's time for structural tests. Transparency isn't just policy, it's a reckoning." At the close of the final day's proceedings, Kash Patel, senior advisor, representing the FBI, took the podium in a press briefing that was both stark and historic. Today marks the unraveling of an organized silence, a coordinated structure of concealment designed to shield the powerful from accountability. The system's code of silence has fractured, and public trust demands clarity. He stressed that the court's restricted access and sealed evidence, all justified under witness protection, had not prevented a broader societal reckoning. Transparency, he said, is not a compromise, it is a deterrent. The trial's fallout signals seismic shifts in three key areas. Public trust polls show a dramatic decline in faith toward institutions associated with elite impunity. Nearly 70% now support more transparent legal procedures for high-profile cases. Whistleblower empowerment. The status of figures like 50 Cent and hidden witnesses has reframed whistleblowers from pariahs to public servants. Financial and housing protections are being proposed to facilitate reports of corporate or celebrity crimes. Media accountability. The trial exploited gaps in mainstream reportage. In response, news organizations are pledging to use publicly available court material and independent verification rather than sanctioned summaries. Patel, we now treat whistleblowers not as pariahs, but as critical partners. Their courage is foundational to our functioning democracy. Patel issued a grave warning. Any future attempts to conceal evidence or manipulate witness testimonies, particularly under high-profile scrutiny, will be actively investigated and prosecuted. The FBI will not hesitate to use obstruction or conspiracy charges when individuals or entities attempt systemic cover-ups. He confirmed that upcoming indictments are already in development, focusing on financial transfers, deletion logs, and NDA procurement used to suppress testimony. Federal filings reveal that only 6 names were initially identified in the original indictment, but Patel affirmed the investigation has expanded. Current sealed filings include references to unidentified individuals who participated in orchestrated events across Los Angeles, New York, and the Bahamas. We will not announce names until evidence meets the threshold for complaint, but we are building a broader portrait of coordinated conduct among high-profile individuals. Legal experts anticipate follow-up charges involving conspiracy to facilitate sex trafficking, money laundering, and obstruction of justice spanning geopolitical jurisdictions. Patel closed the briefing with a deeper reflection. This trial was not merely about individuals, it was about a culture that allowed them to hide. Celebrity does not negate humanity or ethical obligation. In the years ahead, we must treat fame as no different from any other social privilege under the law. He said the FBI plans to publish best practices for secure evidence, sharing witness protection policies, and recommendations for judicial transparency like live streams of non-sensitive hearings. Survivor advocacy groups vowed to fund legal cases and support legislative advances around whistleblower protections. Lawmakers publicly applauded Patel's announcement. Representative Mitchell commented, "We are finally seeing law enforcement meet the public's demand for transparency." Entertainment boards started internal reviews to assess how to ethically vet high-profile event planning. The trial's aftershocks cross politics, finance, and culture. Streaming services and talent agencies announced policy updates Vetting protocols now include red flags around statements like no phones, no record. International courts in Europe and the Caribbean are exchanging intelligence as some events occurred abroad. Social pressure remains, elevated regional protests continue outside federal buildings, with chants still urging unseal the vault, hear the truth. As Part 6 concludes, this case signals a cultural needle shift. The public has witnessed that even powerful personas are vulnerable under scrutiny. The power of cumulative evidence recordings, testimony, financial trails confirm that silence can be dismantled. Kash Patel's stance cemented federal backing for transparency and consequence, not just symbolic gestures. A movement for structural reform has emerged: trial transparency, celebrity accountability, survivor support, and institutional ethics. Ultimately, the message resonates: justice isn't optional for the famous, and silence can be overcome. What began as a courtroom clash over individuals ended as a public awakening to collective duty. This was not a trial of a single mogul. It was a judicial reckoning that exposed a cultural structure long sheltered behind celebrity. Kash Patel, summing it up, said it best: "A culture of concealment has met a culture of accountability. This is no longer just a trial, it's a national moment. And we are listening."